What is up, everybody? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Good morning. Good morning. I got all my stuff. Woo. I think we need a mod cruise. We need a cruise. Again, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Transparency. Mandy Joe, what is good in the hood, girl? What you been up to? I've been just chilling over here. My neck is kind of sore. My shoulders are kind of sore from carrying our asses. Oh Lord. Let's see. Oh my God, I got Miss Potts. I got New Orleans ladies. Shit, I got everybody in here today. Good morning. Yeah, don't forget to leave some touch DNA. Do something. Today's topic is does ISP cover for local law enforcement? Do ISP agents, detectives, I mean, they have to come from somewhere, guys, right? Where are these guys coming from? How do they become, ISP versus why aren't you just a local detective or sheriff or, what's up? Like, what's this chain? So the answer is, fuck yeah, they do. These guys are boys. These are friends. It's they say it. They say it when they talk to people that I know so and so, or yep, I used to work with so and so. So Idaho State Police, they come in and they're going to work, and what they say is that we have more resources and we're going to help out. Well, but when does it come that it's okay? We're going to have somebody totally take over the investigation. When does that come into play? For example, was Moscow in charge of this? Officer Payne wrote this PCA, but it was obviously a group effort, as Ann Taylor put it, 120 officers on the Idaho4 case. 120 people, okay, being in charge of 120 people. How do you keep 120 people? How do you know what everybody's doing? How do you know that something's not falling through the cracks? For example, we're going to use the Bonners Ferry case because it's very similar to the Idaho4 case, and I was able to get my hands on a lot more, stuff to show you, like, this is the same path. This is the same pattern where the Idaho4 case kind of has gone. With I think the one exception is Idaho4, within 7 weeks, there was an arrest, and that arrest to this point has stuck. And the case in Bonners Ferry, they had an immediate suspect, the only person to be interviewed by the FBI within a day. And then, nothing to see here, moving on. Very, very strange. We'll get into all that. But we went back and pulled up stuff from the beginning, just like in the Idaho4 case. North Idaho News was the first to start posting on Facebook about the Bonners Ferry, Brian Drake shooting. So much so that, how all the kids got the alert, like the alert that we got yesterday. Well, Bonners Ferry, what's up, Mike dropping, baby? I got everybody in here this morning. I need to start doing my morning live so I can just see all the mods, those beautiful names and faces. Meow. Anyways, as I was saying, when you go back to the beginning, just like in the Idaho4 case, there was an alert that got sent out. In this case, there was an alert that got sent out. And the first alert was sent out at 8:15 p.m. Now, The shooting was allegedly had said to happen at 7:30, okay? Now my question is 8:15 this alert goes out, right? Now ready to see how like just completely fucked up this gets? If this happens at 8:15, okay? Did Jennifer Drake make her call before or after that alert? All right. Well, here is 46 pages. 46 banging pages. All right. Let me zoom in for you. Anytime you do like, your 911 requests, same thing that we did when we wanted to get like a body cam from the Idaho4 house. And we went with the way that we did that. This is no different. Okay. So we went, this is everything that happened in the Kootenai County Sheriff's office, beginning from 7 to 8 p.m. 7 to 8 p.m. As you can see here, 1904, that is 704. And it's in order, and it's 46 pages. And do you know, out of all of these reports, there's not one that is Jennifer Drake. So how I went about eliminating some things is $8:15 was the first text that the 2,500 to 3,000 people that live in Bonners got that text to say, shelter in place. Well, there was a next one an hour later, a second one. Okay, alerted, telling residents to in the area to keep doors locked and report suspicious vehicles and activity. Okay. And that's interesting because allegedly the eyewitness said that he had witnessed somebody on foot, Isaac Thunderberg. So it's interesting that, if in fact that's so true, why are we issuing? I went and double checked all of this too. This green or blue Subaru as a vehicle of interest, that was 100% said by one of the witnesses. But this did not have Stephen Hartman in it. Stephen Hartman was on foot. He was a supposed person that was walking, and then he was a supposed person that was walking around the area. He takes a walk every single night for about an hour. He was living at the casino, the Kootenai River Casino, and he would go for a walk every night at the same time. He is the only person that met with the FBI. He was texting. He had two cell phones. Both Apple cell phones. He was texting with his girlfriend, and he told his girlfriend that somebody was shot. And he said he was joking around that somebody was shot due to the coronavirus and people were running out of supplies, so that somebody shot somebody. And he was like, I was just joking with like my girlfriend. To be like, I was embellishing. I was like, yeah, I was a mile away, or I was like the next street over. And somebody shot somebody for supplies. And he's like, he's telling the FBI that, okay, buddy, like I was just kidding. Like I was just fucking with my girl, like embellishing, making it seem like, I was present at a place and time where this was going on. And so this is what he blames his text message on. Okay. And he said that it was over the coronavirus supplies. People were shooting each other for toilet paper. Fucking wild, right? Well, funny thing is that this guy, Stephen Hartman, he had just bought a 2019 white F-150. It's kind of brand new. That's the exact same make and model that the last known patient of Dr. Drake saw and could not go out the exit. Okay. They had to go out a different way. They said Gatchel had to go out a different way because there was this big truck that looked like an F-150 Ford white truck. Well, holy shit, that's interesting. You know who else had a big old white truck like that, but it was kind of gray? The second to last person to see Dr. Drake, fucking Jacobson. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, right? So we have Jacobson's truck. We have Stephen Hartman's truck, but Stephen Hartman said he was walking. And then good old Stephen Hartman said, which is going to blow the case wide open, when Stephen Hartman tells the FBI and myself, I was approached by a guy in a station wagon looking car. It was like a Subaru. What? It was like a Subaru. It was like a, I don't know. It was like a beater. He had 2 German Shepherd dogs looking with him. He had 2 dogs with him. And he came up to me and he's like, I had my earphones in and I had to take my earphones out. And he's like, hey, did you hear gunshots? He's like, no, I mean, I've had my earphones in, but, and this is what he says to the cops to explain how he even knew about gunshots. And that's when he started texting with his girlfriend, is because of Isaac Funderburg. Remember how Isaac Funderburg said that he could not find the guy? He got on foot, or he got in his car and he went driving around and he could not find this guy. Oh, he found Stephen Hartman. He approached him. Stephen Hartman gave a perfect description of him and said that he had 2 dogs in his vehicle when he had, pulled off to the side and asked this guy if he had heard, hey, have you heard the gunshots? And he's like, no. And then he just kept on going about and walking. Well, why does Isaac Funderburg tell police that he went off trying to find the guy, but he couldn't find the guy, but he really found the guy? And why on the night of the homicide right away is North Idaho News is looking, and units are checking out several green or blue Subarus. This wasn't known by anybody because Stephen Hartman was not interviewed until the 13th. So for this to be talked about on this day, okay, that couldn't have come from Stephen Hartman, even though that was in his statements, but that wouldn't have been known yet because he was not interviewed yet. So when I had come across this, I said that this is very important because this green or blue Subaru is actually that matches what Hartman said that Funderburg was driving. He said it was like a Subaru or like a station wagon van or something like that, But the biggest thing is that why would Isaac Funderburg say that he never, he's like, I got in my car and I tried to go find that person and I couldn't find the person. So then I started thinking, does Isaac Funderburg mean that the person he was truly looking for wasn't Stephen Hartman? But then that didn't make sense because why is Stephen Hartman? Lana, I need you to check your messages. I got an email. Oh, perfect. Why is Isaac Funderburg and his girlfriend giving a positive identification and saying that the person that they saw was Stephen Hartman? Or was that all a lie? Because it was just in reports. Were they initially trying to blame this all on the Stephen Hartman guy and then something came up? Okay. Did they have all intentions of blaming everything on the Stephen Hartman guy and then realizing that they couldn't? They had taken, Stephen Hartman said they had taken my clothes from my hotel to go get tested for gunpowder residue. I said, well, did they ever test it? He's like, I don't know. I don't have it. I don't have anything. They took all my stuff. Stephen Hartman talked with the FBI. FBI. The only person to speak with the FBI is Stephen Hartman. This engineer conductor that was the reason he was in town is he was working on the train. He's from Michigan. Because I was like, what the hell were you doing there? Why were you there? Did you know that your truck met the description? He didn't know any of this shit. He was talked to one time and never talked to again. Interesting, huh? Well, then, so here we have this 8:15. Allegedly, the shooting happens at 7:30. Allegedly, Jennifer Drake calls the police, 911. You know what I mean? Well, no, 7 to 8 o'clock, she didn't call. Every single one I went through, they redacted them. She didn't call between 7 and 8 p.m. like she said she did. And in fact, there is no call period to do with Bonners if it was like a friend that called or something. So then I came across Bonners Ferry was updating their Facebook page all throughout the evening. So much so that they put investigation is ongoing into this matter, and a suspect has not yet been named. Bonners Ferry Police Department Assistant Chief Marty Ryan comments that there are several leads, and he feels very positive about identification of the suspect being made soon. Right here. Then I come across this number and this number. Idaho State Police. Let's see. Anyone with information, to call. Well, lo and behold, this stuff started to get posted. It was like an hour after the alleged shooting. So the shooting's at 7:30, alleged. And this sort of started like 8:15 and then 8:30. Well, that's interesting because that's when Jennifer Drake starts making phone calls. But I came across somebody by the name of Shelly Freeman. Don't know who you are, Shelly, but I would love to speak with you because I would like to know why Shelly says in this post, the victim is at the hospital. That's exactly what Jennifer Drake does and calls. She starts calling the hospitals. Shelly Freeman, where did you ever get that information? Anyways, March 12, 2020, Bonners Ferry heavy law enforcement presence in the area of Cody Street, Highway 95. Just so you guys are aware, Cody Street is on the opposite side. That is not by where Dr. Drake's office is. That is on the opposite side. Okay. Van Buren, Highway 95. Please avoid the area until further notice. Now, you know what's crazy? Is this contradicts why they arrested Dan Moore. Dr. Daniel Moore, they said he left his friend's house, the coroner who he was with all night, okay? That he left his coroner friend's house, which is like right in that area, and that he totally avoided the crime scene. Motherfuckers, you were telling people that they had to avoid the crime scene. Look at that. You cannot make this up. Please avoid the area until further notice. They put in documentation that he was conspicuously trying to avoid this area. They put it in the probable cause affidavit for arrest of this man. I think that's funny. So I included this bad boy right here. You're telling people to avoid an area. But when you arrest a man, he was conspicuously avoiding this area. What? No, he wasn't. You guys were blowing up every outlet you possibly could, telling people not to come over there. Anyways, Brian Drake obviously never went to the doctors, the hospital. So I'm just curious, Shelley Freeman, where you got that information from. Who told you that? Because like he was DOA, dead on arrival. This motherfucker didn't go anywhere. In fact, Brian Drake was laying on his office floor all the way until the next day, until like 5 p.m. Meanwhile, his wife was calling for life insurance that morning and wanting these detectives to clear her as a suspect so she can get her money. Okay. So he's laying there on his floor in his office, and she's calling for life insurance. Just so we're clear about that. No coroner saw his body until 3 or 5 p.m. that next day. Whoop. So now, let's see. I was told that I had an email. All right. So yeah. Give the cell phone number. Say that cell phone number called, and so you want the call from that cell phone number that came through. Hopefully that helps. And then we're going to give a different cell phone number for the Seven Bonners. Hopefully that helps you there. Yeah. Only membership I have is Lana. Woohoo! Okay. So again, I looked at the very, very similar like stuff to do with the Idaho4 case, stuff to do with this case. And just like Corna Mabut was kept out, she didn't get to go in there. She says, what, about like 5 or 5:30 that day. Well, that'd be like 5 or 5.5 hours after, the 911 call, right? But think about it. Think about how long they had been laying there from the time of like the actual crime. So let's just go with 4 a.m. Okay. So we're talking about 13 hours. All right. Now let's talk about this case. It's very, very similar. These coroners aren't seeing bodies for fucking like 12, 13, 15 hours. Isn't that just wild? I think that's just absolutely wild. Let's see what else I wanted to show. Okay, going to the I want to show you how people aren't on the same page. Okay, so you have what is up with that, right? I don't know what's up with that, but that's crazy to me. Atlanta, it is insane. I think it's insane. Mabut could not handle being the door greeter at Walmart. Good morning. If that doesn't wake you up, I don't know what does. If my last name had to be Mabut, my parents better have named me Love Mabut. There you go. Oh, that was good. Okay, so let me talk about this. You have 120 people on the Kohlberger case. So I looked deeper into what type of communication does Van Leuven and Gary Tolson have. So Gary Tolson and Mike Van Leuven, they're both ISP. They're both detectives, sergeant detectives, and they are, working this small little, what you would think is puny woony Bonner's Ferry, like, why is the FBI even called in? Like, what the fuck? This is some dude that was allegedly in his office building, right? Or was he not? Was he somewhere else and then put in his office building? But at the end of the day, you would think that this isn't 4 college students slashed up in their house. Like, this is just a single gunshot wound, okay, to the side, bleed out. But then, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, how does someone bleed out? Why didn't he call for help himself? You're not just gonna bleed out in 2 seconds. Why was his phone shut off right after this call with his wife? Why was his phone then turned back on at like 8:30? Who the fuck is fucking with his phone? And then here is, because I'm gonna give, like, when I do an investigation, I'm not biased. Here is Jennifer Drake kind of talking in her, interviews, saying, "I have no idea why they called me. You guys called me. I didn't call the police. You guys called me." Well, no, B, you did call the police. You did a 911 call. We're about to, the world knows. I talked with Channel 6 last night. I finally talked to Haley Gunther. I think that's her last name. She's a very, very nice woman. I'm going to be speaking with Tom Webb. I think that's his name. Let's see. Yes. KHQ Channel 6. Hailey and I only work part-time these days with a ton going on with my kids, and I get that. Is it okay if we talk with John Webb, the North Idaho reporter? I said, perfect. Me and John Webb will go ahead and speak then. Thank you so much for taking the time to reach out to me. I will check your page. So me and John Webb have a date. Again, I offered them to have my 911 call. I thought it was important. And it was nice to speak with her, she said. She thanked me for being understanding that momming is like a whole new, a whole new world. So she only does part-time now because of her kids, which is awesome. So, yep, Channel 6 that covered the case back in March. It's only fair that we cover the case appropriately. Well, something's very strange about Jen Drake being told that they're asking for her husband's cell phone numbers. All that's just strange in itself. But what's more strange is that somebody went ahead and turned them off, to turn them back on, to turn them back off, looking through text messages. I don't believe that any of that is appropriate. They're not supposed to do any of that at a crime scene. And that's exactly what was happening. And so in Jen's defense, I know that it was not Jen Drake that did that. Okay. And I don't believe that it was anybody in her family that did that. I believe that was done by none other than Marty Ryan. I don't believe that a first responder or somebody that was, a peon in the department would go and take it upon themselves to think that they're going to go and grab somebody's cell phone, turn it off, turn it back on, turn it off, turn it back on. I don't see that happening. I see that happening by one person only, and that would be Marty Ryan. Next door at the Far North Coffee Lodge, that is actually his wife, Marty Ryan's wifey poo, Cindy. Well, they own that. Her family owns that coffee place. I want to know what type of relationship Cindy Ryan, if she was working out at Mike's gym, I want to know what type of relationship Cindy Ryan had with none other than Brian Drake. I want to know why this case that seemed to be, bringing in so many leads. We have tons of surveillance. Why you're bringing in the FBI, Marty Ryan? Why would you be bringing in anything to do with even like ISP? But bringing them in is one thing, but totally taking yourself off the case and handing it over at midnight is another thing. Where Drake's door or window was to where the drive-through window was, like Drake and Cindy, if they're just like looking at each other all day through like the drive-through window and through like his office window, they like literally are like 16 feet apart all day, you know? So anyways, throwing that out there, but, so whoever killed Brian Drake, and the motive for killing Brian Drake has to do with why would anybody call a 911 call in later than they were supposed to? Why would anybody tamper with evidence at the crime scene? And then why is the police reporting? Why is the police not catching the total like conflict, like contradictory statements? For example, Stephen Hartman, the first suspect that was on foot, that allegedly was chased down by Isaac Funderburg. Isaac Funderburg said that he could not find him, he could not see him, that he didn't catch up to him, he never spoke to him. That guy, Steve Hartman, tells the FBI, tells me, no, he most certainly stopped me and came up to me. And looking at it now, from my perspective, I believe that Isaac Funderburg wanted to know if this guy had seen anything. Okay? Like, you ask people stuff to see if they had seen anything, right? For what purpose? To see what they saw. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Was that you? Like, go over there and playing dumb. Isaac Funderburg lied to the police. Why isn't Isaac Funderburg called back in? Okay. Unless he is an informant for Marty Ryan. And why do I say that? Because Stephen Hartman was interviewed and told and told the police that this guy talked to him, and he talked to him, and he had 2 fucking dogs in the car. The same description, everything is the same. Why would Isaac Funderburg make it seem like he never talked to this guy? And then why are they positively identifying, the girlfriend is positively identifying Stephen Hartman as the suspect that they saw? Very strange. Now, Marty Ryan brings in ISP. He says that ISP is going to take this over. So you have Van Leuven and Tolson that take this over, right? Well, here we go. This is how well ISP works together. On March 13th, Jennifer Drake begins to start calling for her life insurance. Okay. She's calling from 3/13 all the way until 4/3. So like 3 weeks in a row. Like I said, she started calling before her husband was even picked up off the floor, bloody. On the day that they cut her check, you would think that 2 ISP officers would be on the same page, would talk to each other, right? Well, I want to know why Gary Tolson would tell the insurance people, hey, this investigation just started. Nobody has been ruled out as a suspect. That's what Gary Tolson says. Nobody has been ruled out as a suspect because this investigation just started. Duh. Makes sense. Good job, Gary. The same day, Jennifer then goes to Mike Van Leuven and says, will you call the insurance people need to talk to you so that, to give them the information. And that's what you see in the interview process. And then so Mike Van Leuven, after Gary Tolson tells the people, nobody getting cut anything because we just started our investigation. Mike Van Leuven calls and says, we don't have any suspects. We don't have any suspects. And Miss Drake has been nothing but cooperative with Ellie. So they cut her a check. Wait, what? Literally within, we're talking hours. So this should just sit here to tell you, okay? You have two officers, detectives working together. One of them tells the company, no, we just started an investigation. Gary Tolson. Then turns around. Jennifer Drake goes to Mike Van Leuven, who then calls and says, we don't have any suspects. And Miss Drake has been nothing but cooperative. Okay. And then $1 million. When, when do you think that Mike Van Leuven and Gary Tolson ever then talked like the next time to say, hey, was that you who ordered the $1 million to be paid out? Was that me? Was that you? I would be like, Van Leuven, what are you doing? I just talked to them and told them that we just started this investigation. You just cleared Jennifer Drake to get her $1 million? Okay. The reason this is important, guys, is because these fucking people are the ones that are doing an investigation into the Idaho4 fucking murders. Do y'all talk to each other? Okay. Same thing. Now let's talk about the sheath. Did you see the sheath? No. I can basically, these people can do whatever they want because nobody fucking talks to each other. Okay. Oh, I saw a sheath. Here's my sheath. Oh, where'd you find that? Oh, it was under the body. I don't know why my body cam didn't get it. There's no briefing. There's no debriefing. There's no nothing. There's no communication. Literally. Now, can I blame Jennifer Drake? No, she just went to Gary Tolson. Tolson tells them, we just started this investigation. Worse, like we just started. Nobody's ruled out. You know what I mean? To then she calls up Mike Van Leuven and says, can you talk to the insurance people? And he's just like, yeah. Mike Van Leuven goes and talks to the insurance people and says, we have no suspects, and she's been nothing but cooperative with law enforcement. So do they consider Bethany and Dylan to be cooperative with law enforcement? So when we're talking about ruling people out, they ruled Jennifer Drake out of being a suspect because you have to rule somebody out as being a suspect. Otherwise, they're not getting that mail. She was ruled out and cut her check within what? Like 3 weeks, not even. But meanwhile, Gary Tolson is saying that the investigation just started. Like, come on, man. These people don't fucking talk. They have no idea what's going on. And then this is what they do. Then instead of like calling each other out, no, we have to cover for each other. We cover for each other. Because what should have probably happened there is, I mean, when Jennifer Drake called Mike Van Leuven should have said, didn't you just talk with Gary? Didn't Gary just tell you that we just started this investigation? Didn't he tell, and then how about the people that on the other end of like the actual insurance company? I just got off the phone with your other detective and they said that this investigation just started. Now you're calling me here just a couple hours later. Because you know what they do at the insurance places? They type everything out each time there's a phone call about anything to do with your policy. If you wanted to see, Hey, what if I was to pay my policy all in full each year versus paying each month? Do I get a break on the price? Hey, if my husband is now a smoker, hey, did we, what if we, miss a payment? I mean, anytime you call to check on anything, and the representative of they write down what day it is, what transpired, why the person, the reporting party is calling, all of those things. So who's on the end of the insurance company to sit there and be like, wait a second, I just literally talked to Detective Gary Tolson, and he said that you guys just started. Now you're saying Jennifer Drake is cleared? And how did we go about clearing Jennifer Drake? I'm just curious. And so why is this important? Because these are the fucking people, and this is the law enforcement agency that literally did a shit ton of work with the Idaho4 case. And then if the FBI came in and did one interview with Stephen Hartman, why was that the only interview? Why didn't the FBI interview anybody else? Because had the FBI interviewed anybody else, they would have caught, like, I'm waiting to get the report from the FBI and what Stephen Hartman said. If I wasn't sitting there listening in on that interview, I have to wait till I get that report, I get the recording, something, right, to know what the fuck he just said. But this is why when you have all these hands on deck and people are just going and interviewing people, who's the person that's taking all the information and actually doing something with it and like sorting it out? That's why when you have all these hands in the cookie jar, it's fucking horrible. You don't want that in your investigation. I know I wouldn't. Girl, they should be worried, especially if they're watching this. Wow. Well, I think everybody that's involved should be worried, because I would start coming clean with, listen, I was lied to. Jennifer Drake told me X, Y, and Z. I didn't have anything to do with this shit. She told me that she'd already called. I mean, if Jennifer Drake is in a vehicle or with Amber Van Ling, like her husband says, Spencer says that Amber was with Jennifer Drake. Okay, well, so she was there when she made the 911 call? Because she didn't make the 911 call between 7 and 8 p.m. Here you go. Here's your records. Every single call and who was dispatched and where they went. No fucking Jennifer Drake. This is all public information. Do some FOIA requests, baby. Search through them. Nobody talked to Jennifer Drake. Nobody was patching people through between 7:30 and 8. Every single dispatch call. What time's this one? 7:40. Times this one. 7:35. See, reporting party's mother-in-law fell down. I mean, this is every 911 call that came in. What time is this one? 3:12, 20. See, 19:36 and 47 hours. It's all in order. Okay. And what this proves is when you go through all of these pages, all of them, all it proves is that Jennifer Drake did not call 911 between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock. And this is the This is where she would have called. This is what she said she called. She called 911 from Hayden. This is where that goes. And then this is what dispatches then to what they said would go to Bonners Ferry from Boundary County. Boundary County Dispatch. See? See Boundary County Sheriff's Department dispatch number? See that right there? See that right there? Two 6-7-3151. 3151, baby. What time? 8:59? 20:59? Let's take one more look. Let's see what else I got here. Oh boy. Let's see. Oh yeah, here it is. There she is. Then I went and got this puppy, the event summary from Boundary County. And when I got this puppy, these fuckers lied. I'll zoom in. Boop, boop, boop. 2 gunshots. Reporting, hearing 2 gunshots. Not 1, 2. 2, because the second one was the decoy. The second one was through the glass to make it so you could say he got shot through that glass. But they fucked it all up. They fucked it up. Master Splinter. Anyways, this is what you do. You want to get to the bottom of something, this is what you do. You just go and you just get the information, right? And then you put it all together, right? Sure. So here it is. Jennifer Drake, you did not call 911 between 7 and 8 p.m. I can prove that. But your phone records show that you did call and you talked to dispatch at 8:59 p.m. How do I know that? Because your phone records show it. You called at 8:59. Okay. And then guess what they did? Boundary County dispatched 911 at 8:59. Your phone call was at 8:59 acting like your husband had just got shot. Okay. So my question is, what the fuck was going on in Boundary County that night? Why would this all be some crazy ass shit if this was just a guy that got shot in his office? Nobody saw anything, nobody heard anything, you know, what's going on? What truly happened what happened in Bonners Ferry that night? Is it truly what they're saying? Is it just, some guy that was, he's found dead in his office? Was that the case? Because there's a hell of a lot of things going on in Boundary County, in Bonners that night. So much so that you're sending out all these fucking, let me explain something to you. When you come upon a deceased human body in an office, okay, and you don't see anybody performing this act in any type of way, you don't see anybody running around with a gun, you see nothing. How can all of these text messages go out saying all this crazy stuff. Like, you just found a dead body in in a office building. Think about that. What kind of, why are you next telling people, or whatever the hell you're doing? You're sending out these, where are they? Why are people going in, the cops being summoned somewhere before any of that? Like, they're totally in a different area. That's not what you would do. You don't have I mean, think about it. It's kind of like the Idaho4 case. You would have known those bodies were there and dead for hours. Hours. Okay. Yet here you're going to send out a text message. I mean, I'm talking hours later telling people to shelter in place. For what purpose? What purpose? Whoever stabbed those kids stabbed them fucking 10 hours ago. And they were stabbed in their homes. So just shelter in place. Why? That's where these people got killed in their home. That truly makes no sense to me, that you're sending out an alert to be on the look, like, to be. What are you alerting people to? I guess we're just alerting people that we found dead bodies, because we can't be alerting people. Like, what? Be on the lookout for what? Like, if there's an Amber Alert, be on the lookout for, here's the make and model of this vehicle. You know what I mean? And we're looking because there's a kid that was just abducted. We're sending out an alert to do what? To say that it doesn't make any sense. Most people take MSM news as gospel. Yeah, that's what's crazy. They already knew what move they were playing, sadly. Again, hello everybody, welcome. I really feel like Moscow Police Department and ISP are shady. They cover for each other. That's what this episode's all about. It's all about covering for each other. Okay. Marty Ryan and Mike Van Leuven are buddies. Mike Van Leuven says it in an interview. Tells Jennifer Drake that. Then it also says, I gotta find it. I'm gonna have to just print it again. That we're not going to announce the name of the victim until the family's notified. Well, the family knows that he's dead at 8:30. So why couldn't you announce the like, the family knew? The family's telling people. Jennifer Drake told her friend at 9:30 that Brian was just dead. Let me see. Every single day, Lana, you amaze me more and more. Oh, I'll take that. Let's see what we got here. Okay. At approximately 7:30 p.m. on March 12, 2020, in the area of Highway 95 and Denver Street within the Bonners Ferry Police Department responded with the assistance of the Boundary County Sheriff's Office. A victim was discovered deceased at the scene. But that wasn't the initial scene. The initial scene wasn't where they were dispatched, by the way. A victim was discovered deceased at the scene. Identification of the victim will not be released until proper notifications to the family are made. The victim was not a resident of Boundary County. Now, I'm going to print this because this was on March 13th. Now, maybe it was like in the middle of the night. Don't know. But a detective named Ken went out and spoke with Jennifer Drake, went to the home, and was there that night. And most certainly proper identification. I mean, they were notified. Here we go. March 13th. Okay. At approximately 7:30 p.m. on March 12th. There it is. But right here, a victim was discovered deceased at the scene. No, it was not at the initial scene because they were over across the street somewhere else. Okay. Identification of the victim will not be released until proper notification to family are made. But this proves that someone's lying. Okay. Either this is straight from Bonners Ferry Police Department. This is not the fucking news. Okay. This is the police department claiming that on March 13th, the guy was killed on the 12th. Jennifer Drake is texting her friend saying Brian is dead at 9:30. Okay, that's a text message. There's no getting around that. Jennifer knew he was dead way earlier, but whatever. We can at least prove it in a text message that she says he is dead, period. He is dead. But here, the next day, they're saying that identification of the victim will not be released until proper notifications to family are made. Well, maybe when they say proper, I mean, they sent a detective. So then you look at and you talk about what went on, in the Idaho4 case. And yeah, like Steve Gonzalez is like, we just sat around. Nobody said anything to us. Nobody did anything to us. Nobody talked to us. Well, guess what, Steve? In Bowners, they were talking to Jennifer Drake within minutes. Okay, somebody called that woman. Somebody called Jennifer Drake from Boundary from this number at 7:44. And we're going to find out who it is. We're tracing the fuck out of that call. Because why would anybody be calling Jennifer Drake at 7:44? How do they even have Jennifer Drake's cell phone number to call Jennifer Drake? Jennifer Drake was interviewed, and she specifically said that she never called 911. Why would Jennifer Drake ever say that she never called 911 when she did? Oh, I'll tell you why. Because she called 911 too late, and her story didn't make sense. And so she was told, we're going to act like you never that happened way earlier. Okay? Do you understand that conversation had to have happened? Because Jennifer Drake's story fucking changed. Jennifer Drake talked to people on the 13th when she was interviewed. Her story changed by the 16th when she talked to Van Leuven and Tolson for the first time. Her story changed from talking to Marty Ryan and his team on the 13th in Bonners Ferry to then the 16th. I can prove it. Marty Ryan knows it. Marty Ryan is retiring. Marty Ryan is getting the fuck up out. Why? Because the train's coming. Marty Ryan is retiring early, and he is leaving Bonners Ferry and moving. And so is Zimmerman, the police chief. These dirty, dirty boys, these old school boys, good old boys club, all covering for each other. I just want to know, Marty Ryan, was it the money or was he sticking it to your wife? I just personally want to know. I'm going to find out, but I just thought I'd ask the question. Was he sticking it to your wife? And that's why you had something to do with this whole big elaborate cover up? Or was it the money? Maybe it was both. But who was Brian Drake fucking that you had a problem with? Why would such a young cop like Marty Ryan be retiring right now? Investigation is still ongoing into this matter, and a suspect has not yet been named. Bonners Ferry Police Department Assistant Chief Marty Ryan comments that there are several leads. Your people are lying to you, so I don't know what leads you had, but they're lying to you. Your peeps were lying to you. Can prove it. According to Ryan, the area has many private surveillance systems that law enforcement will review. Positive leads are already developing. Lies. Okay, so, and if all this is happening, right, Dan Moore wasn't one of them. Okay, this wasn't part of it. Idaho State Police, Bonners Ferry, and BCSO, Boundary County Sheriff's Office, will be working closely in the investigation into this crime. No mention about the FBI, but the FBI did, in fact, interview Stephen Hartman. Anyone with information is encouraged to contact the Bonners Ferry Police Department. Well, let me know if you want some help on that. You can get your hands on that case file. I could probably help you if you really want to know that, because that stuff makes me sad. Nobody should ever be told that somebody committed suicide, and the fact that they didn't. And that breaks my heart there. Sorry for your loss. That's sad. Want to say hello to all the new people that joined in. Leanne, how are ya? Welcome. Busted Flush, been a member for a couple months there. Good morning, Bomb Squad. You know it. Rain, Real, M. Cloud, welcome, new member. 9-month membership right there by Mandy Joe. I could have had 2 babies in the amount of time I've been a member. Woohoo! Oh my God, yes, you could have. We could have little mod babies. You guys, this is all about, thank you, Busted Flush, just because, Nina, thank you so much. This is all about the truth, okay? In order for me to get more information than I needed with the Idaho4 case, I wanted to look into the people that were investigating the case. And that's how I came across this case. So when anyone's like, what does this case have anything to do with Idaho4? It has everything to do with the Idaho4 case. This is patterns of behavior. This is how they operate. Okay. These ISP detectives came in and cleaned up Marty Ryan's huge fucking mess. Just like Moscow had a huge fucking mess on their hands. What happened? Idaho State Police came in. FBI came in. We need to clean this up, right? Idaho State Police found a fucking sheath. We're going to clean this up. Idaho State Police, in my opinion, come in and they some nasty motherfuckers. They came in to clean up that shit in Moscow. And I hope to God that, and I know that they're watching, the Gonsalveses are paying really, really close attention, because you don't go and do something in 2020 and literally I have proof of what they did, to think that that was a one-time thing, to think that it never did it before, but it was that obvious. Like, if anybody was to actually look at it, it's that obvious. It's right there. The FBI should be, looking in and seeing what the heck these people just did in Bonners Ferry. So much so that the FBI should probably be looking into, unless they're part of it, of what happened in Moscow. But right now, everything to do with the whole DNA on the sheath, this miraculous sheath, it only has one source. I personally believe that that's all going to get tossed. So then what are you left with? You're left with fucking nothing. You're left with nothing on Brian Kohlberger. And that breaks my heart for the families. So this has everything to do with the Idaho4 case, because this is the same people. ISP first on scene, collected evidence, interviewed DMB, found sheet, did DNA present at autopsy. Yep. And guess what? Took no notes. And then, I was able to see everything that Gary Tolson did in this case and how they handled Jennifer Drake. And I'm going to tell you something. I want to talk to Jennifer Drake, because if she had nothing to do with this, okay? If she had nothing to do with the police stuff that went on, okay, she deserves to be vindicated of that too. All right. I think she's going to have to explain this whole 911 ordeal. All right. She's going to have to explain a lot, but she only knows the truth on everything that took place that day. But her timelines and everything that she said, they're not truthful. And I don't know if she was talked to, okay? And, she had to start changing things up because stuff wasn't adding up. If they put the pressure on her to start changing some stuff, or, it looks like you did this, that's not what I can see in any of the interviews that took place that were recorded. But there was hella communication that was not recorded. It was like a Nicole Kessinger type situation. Jennifer Drake was texting with Mike Van Leuven morning and night all the time. There was phone conversations that were not being recorded. There were body cams. There are body cams out there that only have visual, not audio. Like what? Yeah. Bonner's Ferry has body cams. Why would you ever think about this? I want your guys' thoughts because I can't say for sure why they did it, but I know that they did it. If I have my body cam on, okay, and I'm at the scene and I take my body cam off to hand it to you because you're going to go somewhere else to do whatever, the only reason I would do that is if that person didn't have a body cam because maybe they came and they were not actually working that night. They weren't dispatched there, but they heard the scanner, and so they came to help out. That happens, But they're passing around Venezuela's body cam. Why would you ever be passing around? Everybody would just have their own body cam, right? Like, why are you passing around a body cam? So I'm still figuring that out as to why I think that could have happened. The best answer I have is that they were passing it to people that did not have a body cam that night because they did not have their uniform. They were there without uniform, but they were passing around Venezuela's body cam. Marty Ryan was not wearing a body cam that night. What? Yeah. So think about then how this, what do you mean you're not wearing a body cam if you're in fact working? When you find out, thank you so much, that this was what it was, you'd want to do everything by the book, right? Hey, I'm going to run. We're talking Bonner's Ferry is so tiny. So tiny. If you're there in your police, SUVs and car, where's your shit? What the fuck, right? Well, they're just passing around, from what I have, one body cam. So then it gets me thinking about the Idaho4 case, and I'm like, oh my God, everyone thinks there's going to be, if people showed up there that were not working that day, but hey, we're going to take all the help we can get, so come on. And there's people that were there without body cams. Oh, that's going to be the worst ever. But I think it's something like that happened. They're passing around a body cam. They were interviewing Isaac Funderburg using John's body cam. Okay. Literally, take it off. You can see that he takes it off and is handing it to another person. That is not protocol. There's no fucking way that's protocol. There's just no way. Why wouldn't you take your lazy ass over to the fucking station and go get your fucking shit and put it on? It would all take what? And then so I'm even wondering, is there any body cam of going into Dr. Drake's office that day? Finding the body, being by the window. I'm hoping that all of that's there. So then I just keep thinking about the Idaho4 case, and I'm like, And ISP did not get on scene, so they were asked to come in and help. Mike Van Leuven and ISP, they were blaming it on COVID. Idaho was so loose with that shit, though. They just dicked around. They didn't go in and see Dr. Drake's body until after 3 p.m. the next day. ISP was not in there. unless they were in there and it was somebody that didn't document. Fucking crazy. So I think that if Jennifer Drake wants to sue, she should be suing Bonners Ferry. She should be suing Boundary County. That's who totally fucked your shit up, unless you're involved. And they're covering for you, and then therefore you had to dish out. Do you know what Jennifer Drake named her LLC? Go ahead and look it up. Consider It Done, LLC. Consider It Done. Consider It Done. Do you know that Brian Drake's best friend said to the police, this was like a hit? This looks like a hit. Consider It Done, LLC. She started it after the murders. Consider It Done, LLC. Now, unless she's planning on cleaning your house, all right, consider it done, or she's like gonna like do a bunch of your fucking, I don't even know, chores, consider it done. But I don't know if that was like a big slap in the face, like to name it. At the end of the day, how in the world would you ever say to yourself, that's what we should name the LLC? Even if like it wasn't for that purpose, but consider it done. There's no way I'd be naming my LLC that after my husband was shot. There was the wife doesn't call 911 when she was talking to the hubby when he said he had even shot, then silence, not to mention every other screw up that was made. Yes. But the big part here is I want us to take out this, guys. I don't believe that Brian Drake had his cell phone. I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Or that somebody had to be presently in that, that room, because Brian Drake had time to call the police. Brian Drake would have had time to use his own phone, okay, to call for help. And he didn't. And the only way that you don't do that is if somebody tells you they did it. Okay, I'm staying on the phone with you. I'm staying on the phone with you. Okay, so she's talking to him the whole time, acting like she had already called 911 for help, but she never did. Okay, that's the only, like, why wouldn't Brian Drake use his cell phone to call for help? He had time. Okay, you wouldn't have been shot and then in shock in 10 seconds to the point that you're passing out. I want to hear a professional get on the stand, and I want to hear somebody say that. I don't believe that that's what he internally bled out. Okay, there was hardly any blood at the crime scene, or what they want to deem the crime scene. Brian Drake had debris on his back. His fingers were so dirty that there was dirt underneath his fingernails. I believe that Brian Drake was drugged. But at the very least, Brian Drake supposedly has a cell phone. Okay. And the only reason I would stay on the phone with my wife when this was happening is if she's like, stay on the phone with me. I just called. They're on their way. They're on their way. They're on their way. But why wouldn't Brian Drake call for help himself? And then who is turning Brian Drake's phone off to then back on, to then back off, to then back on? And it's like, Lana, how do you know that? Well, because the text messages, there were 2 text messages that were read that were after he was dead. And those were at 8:16 and 8:17 p.m. And so if he was dead at 7:30 and his body was found at 7:40, then who opened up the phone? Because the Murdoch murders were able to tell a bunch of things. So I used a contact of Scott Roeder's to look into some of the forensics of the phone for the Moore family. This is insanity. This ruined a very amazing family's life. And this was 100% a targeted railroading of someone's life and career. A chiropractor that didn't even know Brian Drake and his wife did not know him at all. Why would you ever pin something like this on someone like that? You know, and think that you're going to get away with it. You know, I have no idea how a cop, or I'm sorry, how a lawyer doesn't figure it out herself or himself that Jennifer Drake never called 911. Well, it's because you probably don't ever think that the state's going to do what they did and totally like lie about all the stuff that they lied about. That's prosecutorial misconduct. And that's basically what Ann Taylor is accused Bill Thompson and his team of doing, prosecutorial misconduct, as well as like a ton of other shit. But this is sick. This is sick. And then you cannot look at the fact that Jennifer Drake was calling to get that fucking insurance money. She had money. There was a $50,000 GoFundMe that was being funded. Okay, the girl had fucking money. She didn't need to. Why would you even draw suspicion to yourself to be calling about that life insurance policy right then and there? And see, that's the only thing that I'm like, is this broad fucking stupid? Like, how dumb is Jennifer Drake? Like, let's say that you didn't do it. Well, you fucking are making yourself look pretty fucking guilty. I just, for the life of me, I'm like, God, is this broad stupid? And then I said, no, she's not stupid. She's being protected. You only do stuff like that when you know that nothing's going to happen to you. The only way that nothing can happen to you is if you got the inside track. And the inside track is corruption. Otherwise, you don't do stupid shit because you just, you don't. Because maybe it wasn't just, maybe Jennifer Drake's having to call because someone's on her ass saying, where's my fucking money? Go get, like, where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money? Well, this shit takes time. Like, I can't just keep calling. You know what I mean? But just, you have to look at it from all angles. And so maybe somebody was on Jennifer's ass, which is very, very fucking possible. But I'm willing to hear out Jennifer. I'm willing to help Jennifer if in fact she was, if things went down. I wonder if she's going to get married really quick. Well, I just, regardless if Jen committed murder or not, I would never marry somebody like Jennifer Drake. Holy fucking shit. She's so controlling. Fucking run. I don't care how hot somebody would be. Fucking, I'd be running the opposite way if it's a person like Jennifer Drake. So what is good, guys? What do you think? I've been trying to peel back all the layers for you guys to understand this case because you can't get it out in the media. It's not there. It's only here on TNT. I've been at it with this case since Ann Taylor said the words Gary Tolson to me. So, it's really scary. You make a wrong turn, piss off the wrong person. Oh, God, speaking of wrong turn, thanks to whoever just wrote that. You just made something go off in my head. Check this out. Brian Drake, so crazy. Brian Drake, Dr. Drake, he got 4 speeding tickets. He got 4 speeding tickets in a 5-week period. He got in 2016. Okay. September, like The first week, second week, third, fourth, fifth, 4 speeding tickets, okay, in a 5-week period. And I said to myself, I said, what the fuck? That's like insane. Like I've never heard of anything. So much so that that when they went ahead and did their life insurance, mind you, he was the only one that they got the life insurance on, but this they did it at the same time, okay? And Jennifer Drake, I believe, tried to get 1.25 mil, but they would only give a mil because of his driving shit. But I said to myself, think about this. If you piss off a cop, okay, and they're like, fuck this dude, man. I found him fucking my wife. Well, we're just, hey, you let all your buddies know, and then you're just pulling this dick over and you're just getting him, you're just getting him in trouble. You know what I mean? We're just gonna start pulling him over. And you tell your buddies, and here, how in the world would Brian Drake get literally pulled over and said he was speeding every other week? I mean, literally every week. He got 4 speeding tickets in 5 weeks. He got 3 points for each time that he got his license suspended. Okay. You understand that? And it was right after I said, I think he pissed off a police officer. But how would you piss off a police officer? What would you do? I said, oh my God, you bang his wife, bang his girl. So I just never have heard anything like that in my life. 4 speeding tickets for the same thing. Amy says, shelter in place so no one's out while they are figuring out their story. Yeah. So I said to myself, what the hell who did Brian Drake piss off in the police department that he literally got 4 speeding tickets in 5 weeks? So much so that his license was suspended and he only had driving privileges. Like, that's fucking crazy. The guy didn't have any speeding tickets before that. Banging someone's wife, I think, would probably, And then let's truly think about this. Brian Drake was murdered, right? What happened a month before that? Well, he broke his leg, and you don't break it like that. I think somebody took a baseball bat to it, right? So who, was Brian Drake paying anybody off for for the past couple years before leading up to his demise? Anyways, I think it's just something it's an angle to look after. Yeah, ISP is the one that found the sheath. ISP found it. It's a roughed up warning, right? Yeah. Yeah, he didn't slip and fall. And I was able to find out that this woman that I talked to, she said he had that little crutch thing on January 23rd when I saw him. And I said, well, the accident didn't happen until February 4th. She's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. That was my last visit with him. I always take my notes, and I saw him with that crutchy thing on. I said, oh, I believe you. Oh, I believe you. I just think that they were, it was another scam. Scamming. Corruption. Anyways. Now let's talk a little about the focus so into the Idaho4 case. I know that people have messaged me about what I think about Enon. You guys, Idaho4 case is so fucked. Okay? That investigation, I can't even imagine what it's just, you got all those agencies, you have no one who is in charge of it? Who I just would think shit's everywhere, I think it's going to be sad because if in fact Brian did it, they're going to have, and if any of that DNA gets tossed, there's nothing tying Brian to it. So. Oh, Crafty Crime Sleuth, welcome. Finally catching a live War Eagle. Where you been? Yes, good. Lana, what about the guy city council fired viewing body cams? What did he see? Yeah, that was over in Boise. I mean, I've taken a peek back at that. He might be he should whistle blow if he was fired for some reason. Drake didn't spend a lot of time in Vegas. He went once. The other thing is that Drake had $600 on him in cash that night. I think that's interesting because everybody that I interviewed that went to see him that day, they didn't pay cash. So everyone was saying that they paid with a card. Leanna, can you bring up Blaker and Payne statements from the PCA? Blaker and Payne are both fucked. That's all I have to say. They're going to be in trouble on the stand. Oh, maybe Brian has something on ISP. It's very likely. You guys, I don't necessarily think that Brian has to have anything on anybody. This is a school flipping out. This is a school covering for something. If you just let the evidence take you where the evidence goes, it'll just go. Anybody else remember that young guy who called into someone's live trying to defend Dylan? Yeah. What is that hero syndrome like firemen get? Can police have that where they set things up to get recognized for solving? Well, let me tell you how much money Idaho made off of this case. It's a shit ton of money. You know, when stuff like this happens, people make money. It's sad, but that's what happens. Lana, what do you think about all this stuff coming out about the frat boys? Well, I think everything's been done to protect the frats. The frats bring in a shit ton of money in that school. So I know that the police spent a lot of time over there at the frats early on. There was just always cars lined up over there. I think everything about, you know, sorority and fraternity life is secretive. So, I mean, but got a lot of money over there, a lot of protection. I find it hard to believe that if someone's stalking, you know, this house and these kids, that nobody would have noticed that. You're not going to see anybody come forward on the stand and say that they know Brian Kohlberger. And I think that's going to be that's going to be a big problem. Whether or not people want to admit it. If I'm stalking somebody, I mean, you don't get seen. Lana, what about any connection to Jason Christopher Gray? I haven't really looked into Jason Christopher Gray. I think it's ironic that these girls would always pose with pictures with knives and do, you know, silly things with knives and joke around and, you know, Halloween and stuff like that. Like they were all into this knives and then here they're murdered and that's how they were murdered. I think that that's interesting. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't know. Like there's all these weird photos and like people like being like this in the background. And I said it. I said, what are the odds that you have a guy that pops his hood? He's down there with the grub truck. He doesn't order anything. This is what we see. And then, here this guy supposedly has nothing to do with the crime. But he should have been like suspect number one and been grilled for days, But then all law enforcement had to do was just show that like Maddie and Kaylee were walking with that guy, earlier. I don't know. There was just so many things going on. And so you're saying on a night that there's it's just like all this stuff is going on and there could be all these different suspects because people were acting different, acting weird. Like Kaylee was in town and she normally wasn't. She talked with Jack that night at the, corner club. They share this dog. She brought the dog down there. They go to a sorority party, that they're not in the sorority anymore. I'm sure that pissed people off. Why are they even going? They're not part of our sorority anymore. They don't want to be part of it, or they just, all these crazy Venmos at 3:30, these crazy amounts. And then you have a murder, and you have 4 people stabbed in a house, and you have 2 people that didn't. And they don't call 911 for 9 hours. So you just like, when you want to talk about the totality, Mr. Payne, and that fucking shit's crazy. And then now we're going to throw in the mix that Brian happened to do this crime on a night that there was all this weird shit going on. I mean, talk about Brian having like, honestly, the best luck. Anybody that would have done this, you have Ethan getting into it and Xana getting into it with frat boys that night. Drugs. So you have all of these things going on, and we're going to throw in the mix that now we're going to put another part in it, and that Brian committed this crime on a night like that, which if he did do it, or anybody that doesn't know these kids did it, they should have gotten away with it. They should have gotten away with it. If you truly think about it. Whoever did this should have gotten away with it. But that's the thing, is that nobody could get away with it. This would have killed the university. Okay. Period. It's just like fucking Penn State. It killed the university when that came out about Jerry Sandusky. Killed the university money-wise. And they knew about that shit for years. Sick. Yeah, then you have a DoorDash driver. Then you have a private driver. You have all these variables. Okay, and then you're going to throw in the mix somebody that nobody knows, and he did this. How would he know when everybody was asleep in their rooms? He did this alone, didn't tie anybody up. Nobody got to their phones. Nobody was able to call for help. But then he leaves a sheath with a little bit of touch DNA on it. And now nobody wants to claim the amazing work and how they got to Brian Kohlberger. Give me a fucking break, man. You want me to believe that shit? Well, go right ahead. You can go believe it wherever the fuck you want. I'm not believing that. Absolutely not. And then you want us to follow around some fucking headlights and some cars. You can't tell what cars those are. Anybody that sits here and tells me what cars are on Linda Lane camera, I'm going to sit there across from you and tell you that you're a fucking liar. You cannot tell any vehicle with any certainty on Linda Lane, period. You can see headlights. You can see that there's headlights, that there's, what about all the people that were walking? We don't even know who the fucking people were that were walking. What about all the unknown DNA in the house? What about even the DNA that is known? Just because you're known and your DNA is in that house, it doesn't exclude you from being a killer. Okay. Oh, see, my DNA is there, and I told you guys that's my DNA. I gave you my DNA. Okay, that puts you in a house where people were murdered. I don't think that excludes you from like not being part of anything. Have you tried to contact the detectives on the Bonners case? Yeah, right. I went straight to the horse's mouth. Why? So they can bury what I have? I'd rather talk to the attorney general. I don't trust anybody over there in Bonners Ferry. Would you trust them? How about I just give you all the information, Casey Stevens? You go ahead and you handle it with Bonners. Bonners Ferry, I didn't realize, was 30 miles from Canada. And Bonners Ferry, Brian Drake was going to the cartel house to give back cracks. He was their chiropractor, allegedly. Why aren't they looking into that avenue? Brian Drake didn't have any drugs in his system. Brian Drake had, 0.8, whatever, 0.08. He was legally drunk. And there was water bottles in his water bottle of he had vodka in his car, whatever vehicle he had, and then he had water bottles of vodka in his office. And you know what I said? I said, did you test any of those? Maybe one of those bottles wasn't his. Maybe it was somebody else's that he was like drinking there with, Yeah, how is there 3 unknown male DNA? Yep. Yeah, how do they think that's going to hold up in court? I'm sorry if I'm on that jury. Like, if I'm on the jury, there's no way that you're getting guilty out of me of what I see. There's no blood in Brian's car. There's no blood in his car. There's no DNA. There's nothing in his car. Nothing in his apartment. Nothing on any digital, nothing. There is nothing tying Brian to any of these victims. Nothing. And everybody says that if I didn't do it, I'd be screaming from the rooftops. No, maybe that's how you would handle it. You guys, the media, anything that you say, the police, anything that you say, anything that you do, they will twist whatever you do and say. Say nothing. Blood is not a DNA. Yeah, I know. Bonners Ferry is where the meat locker is. Brian Drake was not some successful chiropractor. Okay. How much money do you think a chiropractor should make? Brian Drake was either fucking lying to the government with his taxes, all right, or he had no patience. Jennifer Drake says that she never worked. She didn't work. You have 4 kids, 3 boys. That's like they're eating. I don't know how you live off of $70,000 with a family of 6. And then here you have Jennifer Drake being interviewed, asking, "Hey, do you recall going to this place? Do you recall going to this place? Do you recall going to this place?" And she's over here like, "Yep." It's like, you went to Cracker Barrel and ate with 6 kids, or like 6 of you guys, 4 kids, 6, 2 adults, 6 people for $32. How? I want to know how that's possible. Would they all get just hash browns, waters, side of eggs? No. And then I called Tony from Two Tones. Kids eat free day. Then, it's possible. So kids eat free and the parents are out there just, And then the other thing that was pretty interesting is it was like Jennifer was setting up a farewell tour for Brian to say like bye to his friends, to like hang out with his friends. He went and did like a couple different things. What was it? Oh, he went to the place called Caddyshack. It's a bar with golf simulators. They're not golfers or whatever. And so he went there with his 2 really close friends. on different nights, but like literally right before he was murdered. And it was like they were having like a guy night. They never even did that type of shit. Okay. Anyways, Spencer said that he picked up Brian because Brian had just had his he just had his surgery or whatever, his leg. Brian was around driving around. He's like, yeah, I told Brian I would come and pick him up. And so I picked him up that night. This would be the night before his death. Okay. And he said that, yeah, I texted with Brian, said, what time to come pick him up. So I went there and picked him up because of his leg or whatever. Well, why doesn't Brian have any of those text messages? If you were texting him to say, yo, bro, what time should I do to pick you up? Like none of that is in any text messages. Do I think it happened? Absolutely not. I think all of these people are lying. But the question is why? Why lie? I don't know, because we felt bad for Jennifer. She told us that like X, Y, and Z. I mean, I don't know. Why are you lying about what time your wife and Jennifer hung out? Why are you lying about who drove up to Bonner's Ferry? Yes, I don't live here, but my roommate does, by the way. Loving the messy bun today. Oh, thanks. It's totally a mess. My neck is just killing me, too. I mean, does anybody think that that's just crazy? I love that saying. I don't live here, but my roommate does. Like, what a fucking idiot. Good education. I had an ownership interest in the Caddy Shack. You did? The one in Idaho? Do you guys have a really good POS system? Can you go back and look at a date for me and see if there was any purchases? You guys still got your cameras? This guy's probably like, yeah, you'll probably get my hands on that. Yeah, I heard my podcast is pretty much going viral in Bonners in Idaho right now. You want to come on? You want to talk about maybe Brian did it? Seems logical, and there seems to be a seedy underbelly in the university. Here she goes. Johnny Lunch Bucket. Johnny Lunch Bucket, is that really your name? Because I don't know what's worse, Lunch Bucket or my butt. Love my butt. My brother-in-law used to make his teenage girls order off the kids menu. Yeah. Well, I talked to Tony from Two Tones. And yes, I live in CDA. There you go. Okay, so can we talk about your POS system? Can you look up some dates for me? Owners are good friends. There you go. See? Ask them if we can talk about their POS system. Ask them how often they saw Brian and Jennifer Drake. What was I saying there? There's a Caddy Shack. Is it a franchise? Because there was one in Cleveland that we would go to. But see, I played golf, so I would actually use the simulators. They have an awesome POS system. I know, don't they? I bet you. So, like, we had an awesome POS system when I had my bar, and we could go back years. So, like, I bet you they could go back and see what was going down. No, that's not my name. I didn't think so. Well, Miss New Orleans lady, would you throw my email in chat? I would love to hear from you there, Johnny Lunch Bucket. If you want to email me, I would love to see the POS system on that day to see if there was a credit card or if they paid cash, because I have the receipt and I have their orders and I have the time that they were there. I'm just curious if we could compare some POS. What dates? 3/11. 3/11/2020. If they could look between 5 and 8 p.m. I can narrow down. So 3/11 is the day. And I'm looking at transactions between 5 and 8. I could probably go 6 and 8, but I'd rather just be safe. I will inquire. It's themed after the movie. Is it really? That's awesome. That's good. Good for them. Um, yeah, will do. What's your email? Yeah, did she throw it in here? I can do it. How'd you find out about the podcast here, there, Johnny Lunch Bucket? Um, I just shared it there. Cheers to you there, Johnny Lunch Bucket. I'm gonna start saying that. Who are you hanging out with today, Lana? Just me and Johnny Lunch Bucket. I will inquire. Who are his friends? You could put down Spencer Van Ling, Josh Sprague, and Hunter Hazen. There you go. Thanks for all your help. Me and Hunter are going to talk. We're going to talk about Brian was helping him through his porn addiction. And I just want to make sure that Hunter knows that Brian, I've been listening for a while. Oh, cool. Well, welcome. Welcome. Did you see it? I put the email up there. But Hunter, Hunter and Angela, I think that there's a lot of cool people, good people. I think that they were just straight up lied to a lot. So just thought I'd give them some facts. But those are the three people. Two of the people he met with at Caddyshack the day before he was murdered on 3/11/2020. If you want to look at the time between 5 and 8 p.m., I could tell you their orders as well. We'll get info when I email you. Mindchallenge@gmail. Thank you there. Thank you again. Anyways, this is yeah, the work. So the work of the Idaho State Police, the work of Moscow, the work of Bonners, the work of Coeur d'Alene, all these little areas, they're local, law enforcement. And then they ask for help from, ISP comes in. And again, wrapping this up with ISP, did they cover for Moscow? Well, they covered for people in Bonners Ferry. Van Leuven completely lied in his PCA. I mean, completely lied. Jennifer Drake did not call the police, okay, between 7 and 8 p.m. Did not. There is no record of this woman calling the police. Her phone records have no record. She straight up says, I didn't call the police. And then these records. So, but there is a 911 call made by Jennifer Drake, okay? And she is acting hysterical. And that phone call was at 8:59 p.m. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks. So but so if anybody wants, when they were understanding, do I think Brian Kober did this? Do I not think he did this? None of that matters right now. What matters is will we ever be able to tell who did this because of the investigation that was done. Okay. I believe that what took place in Moscow is going to be very similar to what took place in Delphi, Indiana. And when you have a bunch of inept cops or law enforcement people, whether it's for that they're doing it on purpose, whether they're just fucking dumb, whether they don't communicate, okay, what happened in Delphi, taking 5.5 years, and they're just going to go ahead and like, okay, we're going to pick Richard Allen. Well, Richard Allen didn't fucking kill anybody. All right. And here they picked Brian Kohlberger 7 weeks later. But they're claiming that they picked Brian Kohlberger because his DNA was on a sheath. And that they got to that illegally, but we got to it. But we can't tell you guys how we got to it. And then we just worked the case backwards to make everything fucking fit. Okay. Well, I don't think it fits, and I think Ann Taylor knows exactly what they did and how they did it and why they did it. There's going to be closed hearings. If you want justice for the victims, then we need to start holding our law enforcement accountable so that victims can truly get justice and that people aren't wrongfully convicted. That's not justice. That's just another victim. But what I can prove is that they've done this before. They've lied and they've purposely targeted people in the past and made stuff fit, made it seem to fit, but it doesn't. Made cars belonging to people that doesn't belong to, ignored what people really put down and said in their interviews, changed witness statements. I mean, this is sick shit. But you know what? If we don't do FOIA requests, if you don't go and get the information, if you don't go and try to talk to the people to like sort this all out, law enforcement can bury whatever the fuck they want. And that's what they've been doing. And they've been doing it in Idaho. And my next phase in showing of what could possibly have been going down in Idaho is to go to the fact of there used to be brothels in Idaho that stayed open until 1991. It's like OnlyFans on steroids, okay? Well, if we can't do and use that, like these different places to have our little, like, I don't know, hot sex spots, how can we kind of do it and get away with it and make a shit ton of money? Well, we can use sororities. We can use fraternities. When you want to talk about, it's just like a turnkey operation business where you're going to have your clientele there. It's going to be new clientele each year. You're going to be using mommy and daddy's money, and you're going to have new workers because they're doing this shit anyways. Why isn't everybody just making it into a business? People are sleeping around in college anyways. People are having fun in college anyways. Well, let's make some money. That's what do you think OnlyFans is? I'm sexting with people anyways. Well, let's just make some money. I've proved that these people are going on like sugar daddy sites. So my next deep dive to put a lot of things over here together with, what these sororities, I mean, you guys saw the house that went through with the body cam. What the heck, man? I would never live like that. Just a bunch of bunk beds. Just wild shit. I would never do that. I would never live like that. I thought freshman year in college sucked when you had one roommate, in college, and you had to share like a bathroom with, your hall. Okay. And you have to like wear your slippers or your like slides down to go shower and shit. Like, fuck all that. Okay. Yeah, but everybody has to do that. That's your freshman year. And then you just can't wait to get out of the dorms. And then you're like living in like the house that you want with like the friends that you want, right? Well, not on Idaho's campus. They're like relishing in the fact of living like that in those sororities. So we're gonna get to me and Annie Potts. Annie Potts has been deep diving. You know, there's just you guys. It's 2022, 2023. The world has evolved, and it's all digital. It's a digital world we're living in, right? If Kaylee's a hustler, she's working at these coffee shops. She's actually out in Coeur d'Alene all the time. She's barely in Moscow. She was never around. She just happens to be in town that weekend, and then she just happens to get that vehicle, and then she's murdered. Okay. But do we believe that, Kaylee was the target? No. I think Kaylee was like way past it all. I think Kaylee was over the college. I mean, she did her college life. She did her college thing. She was moving, going on. I think maybe she gave it a chance to live with her best friend her senior year. I do believe that something happened. Maybe it was I can't live like this. Like, it's just a party house. Who are these people coming into our house? It's just like it's a revolving door, 24/7. Like, I don't, you know, it's just too much, So you just get out. You're like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to Austin earlier, but I'm gonna go to, I'm gonna go backpacking, Europe, and which is I still want to know who was supposed to go on that trip. But she was the only one that was doing stuff like that. Maddie, I felt, was still like, living her days like a college kid. And then you have all these younger bucks. So just this case is nothing but lies. But you have to sort out the lies. Because you have people lying for different reasons. You have people lying because you don't want your name to be run through the mud. People lie for different reasons. People lie that are witnesses for different reasons. Well, I lied because I didn't want you guys to fucking pop me for selling drugs. You know what I mean? Like, there's different reasons why people lie. So you have to sort that, through that. I just believe if Brian Kohlberger did it and you got to him doing it in a legal way, there would also be other stuff to substantiate that. Does that make sense? And there's just not. Okay? There's not. If Brian Kohlberger did it and you had to go about it illegally and you got him, okay, then once you get him like that, then you're going to go down and work backwards, and you're going to be able to substantiate that guy, how you got him. But nothing is substantiating it. Nothing is supporting it. The only thing that is standing on, like, literally, is they're saying that, the DNA is a hit. That's his DNA, his sheath. But nothing else. Nothing else. And that reads plant job, right? That's what that tells me. And now, if you can go out and prove in other investigations that these motherfuckers did this in the past, that's why I'm looking into these other cases, to see who's ever been involved in stuff like this, where this could have happened, and how they did it. And then is this something that they could have done in this case? And I'm proving it in the Brian Drake case. But I'm proving that it's taking more than one person to tango. You got Bonner's Ferry doing fucked up shit. Then you got ISP covering for Bonner's Ferry. Then you have ISP just being inept and not talking to one another. And then you have Jennifer Drake that's just fucking completely lying and is either part of it and she knows who killed her husband, or she killed her husband and they did it for the money. Okay. But nobody ever asked those questions. And if they were ever asked, they were asked in the beginning. But ISP never on a recorded anything ever asked Jennifer Drake what the fuck she did on 312. That's crazy to me. That's like asking, that's asking Dylan, never asking Dylan, what did you do on 312? Where were you? Where were you? Can you believe that? ISP never asking Jennifer Drake where the fuck she was on 312 the day her husband was murdered. Let that sink in. That's number one suspect. That's the first person. When your husband or wife is killed, you are suspect number one. So when these 4 students were killed, who was suspect number one? Well, fuck, it's a multiple killing. Like, why would one person's boyfriend kill all 4 people? You know? Why would Dylan and Bethany not be killed? Who goes in there knowing that 6 people live there and only kills 4 of them? Doesn't it sound like those 2 people wouldn't have been killed because those 2 people weren't there? Especially if you listen to Kaylee's mom speak, and that it was just supposed to be one person, and then 3 people end up dying with that one person. Okay. And it's because they were there. Well, Dylan was there, according to police. Bethany was there, according to police. Then why weren't they killed? So, and we're not going to use the phones of any of the victims to tell us anything? Law enforcement didn't use the victims' phones to pinpoint crime of time, the time of the crime. We're just going by the surviving victims and some camera footage outside on Linda Lane. You gotta be shitting me. When have you ever heard such a thing? Oh, I have. In the Brian Drake case. When have you ever seen such fuckerage? Oh, I have. In the Brian Drake case, in 2020. That's still going on. That's unsolved to this day. Should it be unsolved? No. Well, we're going to wrap this up. Want to keep it right around 2 hours. I want you guys to have a banging Thursday. And make sure on your way out, thumbs it up, thumbs it down, pass it around. But you guys let me know in the comment section, do you think ISP, they know all the local law enforcement people? Would you cover for them? Would you be part of it? I mean, how many people have to be involved, or is it just simply inept? Like how are we giving police officers too much credit? Are we giving people that are running these investigations too much credit? I don't know. Again, be kind. See you next time.